Okay, so we have AJ here from the PlayStation channel.
They let me into the Nintendo world.
They did.
Yes,
I don't know who they are, but...
The audience,
Oh,
you,
okay. Yeah.
other Nintendo fans, and obviously I'm repping PlayStation well with
Yes.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, which launched on the PS5.
Like all the other PS5 exclusives.
That's it. And today we're here to talk about Pokemon.
Oh, are we? We're talking about Pokemon, are we?
Yes, we're talking about Pokemon.
Okay, so obviously I come from the PlayStation channel.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of an admission to make.
Yeah.
There's some Nintendo games that I've played and loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metroid, obviously one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon's not one of those. I've never played any Pokemon games. Sorry.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Hit me up in the comments. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the total opposite. Of course, my first ever console, as many of you know, it was the Game Boy Color.
Yes.
But I actually had the Game Boy games, Pokemon Blue, and then I had Pokemon Yellow as well. And I rinsed those so much, and then so on and so forth, up until like the early 2010s, which is kind of where I stepped back from Pokemon because I just found it got a little bit samey.
Yeah.
And then with Arceus.
I was just going to say, Arceus, that was a massive step change for them, for the Pokemon company.
It was a total like revamp, like a total different game.
And it was the first time I'd seen Pokemon and gone, do you know what? I quite fancy playing that.
Yeah, and that was the same with Christina as well. She's never been into like the mainline stuff, even though everyone says Arceus is mainline. It's not Gen 9, is it? Gen 9's Scarlet and Violet. But
Arceus is like prequeled. In it goes right back to the start.
Yes. So I forced her to play that game with me.
Yeah.
And she loves it. Like she actually loves it. Yeah. So I'm like, yes, win.
So the people at home can let me know in the comments, but also you, so we can carry this video through, not in silence. Yeah. Let me know what I'm missing. Am I missing something here?
Yeah, there's so much. Like you're into RPGs, aren't you?
Yeah.
And Pokemon's basically an RPG. Like, you know. So you like turn-based battle systems?
Love turn-based battle.
There you go. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7 and 8, my two favourite games of all time.
There you go. And it's funny because I really don't like turn-based battle, but I really like Pokemon.
Every time I bring up Final Fantasy, you're like, yeah, it never really did anything for me. No?
Yeah,
I'm like,
turn-based.
RPG, turn-based.
Yeah. I love Final Fantasy, but different story though. But Pokemon-wise though, there's just so much to it. I think because it hits hard so much for me because I was the original demographic.
Right,
I was a kid in the 90s.
Yeah.
It hit me hard. They released the anime like alongside.
Yes.
So I grew up with the anime and the original games and then progressed with that. It's like huge nostalgia.
Yeah.
But the games are so immersive. Like, you know, I want to be the very best. Like, you know, you just want to be the very best.
Please, I just want a video just entirely of Andy doing the theme tune.
That could be a separate video.
It's short even.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah.
Not it could, it should.
It will be.
Okay.
But yeah, so the games are so long because there's so much you can do and there's so many different like ways of playing the games, even games like modes that people have come up with that are not within the game. So like people speed run it or like I can't think of what it is where there's a name where you can't let your Pokemon die, or your Pokemon, you only are allowed to catch the first Pokemon you catch and you're never allowed to change them.
Oh,
so
that's savage.
Yeah, there's like different ways of playing the games outside of how the game is going to be played.
Yeah, okay.
So there's so many different ways of tackling it, but specifically looking at Scarlet and Violet, which are the newest forms, which is again what's pulled me back in, because like I said, I kind of took a detour from the mainline games like 10 years ago.
So from the outside looking in, the problem I have with it is that now so much has happened in the arsenal of Pokemon games that it feels almost daunting to get into that club. Like, maybe I'm not allowed in now. I've never taken part in this.
Then none of them continue from the previous one. They're all self-contained stories, which I think a lot of the Final Fantasy is as well.
Most of the Final Fantasies, yeah.
So it's kind of like that. So for me, looking at Final Fantasy, I'm like, whoa, there's like 50 games.
Yeah.
Am I going to have to play through like from the 80s onwards to understand? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it puts me off. But really, you could probably just jump into any of them.
Of course.
And that's the same with Pokemon. They are all self-contained stories, unless you look at like Pokemon Moon, and then later they released Ultra Moon, which is like just the better version with more content. The same when they did like different.
But talking of Final Fantasy is a nice kind of analogy for them. Final Fantasies, typically most of the games, they're not even in the same worlds.
Yeah, they're totally different.
Totally different. So the kind of universe it's set in is different each time.
Yes.
But that's not the case of Pokemon, is it? Is there continuity going through them?
Kind of. I mean, it really depends because some games go back to the areas of previous games, whereas I'm pretty sure... Let me know in the comments. But I'm pretty sure each new one is set in a new region.
Yeah.
And they just lock it down to that region. And let's say the more newer ones, you'll have Pokemon that you've seen in the past. Because the very original, I had like 150 or something like that. Now there's like thousands of Pokemon, but they're not in every game.
Yeah.
So each game has like maybe a spillover from the previous one.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But it won't have every Pokemon you've ever seen like throughout every game in them.
So... looking forwards, what are you hyped about? And convince me to play them.
Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been looking into loads because after Legends Arceus, which I really liked, I know loads of people hate on it, but it's fine. Whatever. Yeah. Scarlet and Violet, they've changed up everything. So, yes, people have pulled me up on this before. Scarlet and Violet is an open world game. And people are going, yeah, but the old games are open world. No, they're not. They're not open world. They're a linear game. You have to follow the storyline arc in a certain order.
Yeah.
And
there's gatekeepers.
There's gatekeepers, yeah. And you can't progress unless you go and wake up Snorlax or whatever. You know, you have to go in a linear progression. And also, it's not open world because you're in like areas.
Yeah.
And then you change area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas open world is more like Breath of the Wild, where you can just pick a direction, go, and you can do anything you absolutely want. That's what Scarlet and Violet is. It's an actual open world game, right? So that's the first time ever seen in Pokemon. Open world. Not only that, is there's now 3 storylines instead of your main line, like be the champion, defeat the gyms. Then you might have like Team Rocket-esque people like the baddies alongside that line. This time they're splitting it into 3 mainline story quests. So you've got, I can't think off the top of my head. You've got like Champion Road, I think it's called, which is do the gyms.
Yeah.
So that's one storyline you could entertain if you want to. Then you've got the next one, which is Star something Valley or something.
You can call it anything.
I can't remember them. I'm not prepared for this.
Star Valley doesn't
Star
sound
Valley, yeah, something like that. And that is where you're up against, the opposing team. But that's a separate storyline again. Then you've got another storyline which is all about the Herba Mythica, whatever. So you follow a guy basically trying to make healthier recipes for Pokemon, like food for Pokemon. So he wants you to go and get this Herba Mystica stuff.
Health food even in my games?
But for the Pokemon.
Yeah.
So you've got to get this stuff from these like Titan Pokemon that are like massive. So it's going to be like an epic boss fight for each like stage of the story. But there's 3 storylines that all intertwine and they all are able to be played in any order. So you're not forced to go, okay, I have to start here, then go there, then go there. You can do whatever you want. It is actually open world.
That's interesting.
Yeah, to the point where you can choose to bypass 2 storylines entirely if you want. Or I reckon you can probably do 3 storylines at the same time. If you happen to be in the area where maybe there's a quest for that thing, then maybe you can just do that. And maybe you can jump over to the other storyline if you're closer to that thing, So this is like free reign to the max. Like they're really trying to open it up. But one thing for me, which I think would be really cool for you to experience being new, is there's actually co-op in this game.
Like actual like couch co-op or just online co-op?
Online co-op.
Okay,
it's not I buy a copy and then you play on my game. You'll have to play it on your own Switch.
Yeah.
But via the internet, we could join games, and
that is pretty cool.
We could actually go and explore the whole open world, go treasure hunting, go fight Pokemon together. Let's say
would you do that with me?
Yeah, of course
you
I would. Yeah, I would. Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's nice.
There's 2 copies of the game always with the mainline Pokemon.
Yeah.
So this time you've got Scarlet and Violet. There's going to be Pokemon locked to each copy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I could join your game and we could go hunting for the ones that are only found in your game. So I could capture them.
Okay.
Or we could trade them together. And you could come to mine and capture ones that are in mine or whatever.
I like it.
Yeah, it's cool. And this one, because it's open world, it's going to be so vast, we're not too sure how big the game's going to be yet. But because it's going to be so fast, you're riding Pokemon this time, where they turn into motorbikes. So there's literally
it's so anime.
There's literally Pokemon with like tires on them.
Yeah, just turn into a motorbike. I mean, what else would you expect?
Exactly. And not only that, they can fly.
Of course.
And they can turn into jet skis.
Yeah.
And they can climb mountains.
I mean, it'd be bad if they didn't.
Exactly. So, but that's one way to traverse the whole place.
Yeah.
So in Legends Arceus, you had like almost like a mount per thing. So at the start of the game, you're on like a horse thing. Then you go on the sea with a fish, and then like so on and so forth. But with this one, you get like one Pokemon that's going to transform
into a motorbike.
Exactly. But the thing is that's not just locked to your own personal game. You could join my game. We could both be on motorbikes together. It is random. Like, it is random. But who doesn't want a Pokemon motorbike?
I mean, that sold me.
Just imagine having a pet dog that could turn into a bike.
Everything you said before, co-op and blah, 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 and just gone, mate, they turn into motorbikes. You can ride the Pokemon across the map. And I'd have been, oh, well, I'm sold then. Where do I sign up?
I mean, it does look ridiculous, I must admit. But in a good way. Yeah. Like, loads of people were actually angry because there's a hardcore Pokemon fan base that are probably hating on us right now.
Good.
But, you know, I saw it and was like, this is ridiculous. Sign me up! You know?
It climbs mountains? Yes, please.
Exactly, yeah. So I really like the idea that we could join games and just mess around.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, I don't think that you'll be able to join my game and we'll be able to do the quests together.
I mean, that was one thing with looking at Arceus, was that it was a big world that you could roam around in, but it did feel very lonely.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
Very solitary.
A bit barren. In a way.
Yeah, yeah. There was something missing, and I think maybe that will solve it.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it just adds another element to the game.
Definitely.
That for people like me that love co-op games, just
and
bring something to it.
And me and Christina playing Arceus, we've just got back into playing it again after not playing it since it came out at the beginning of the year. I went in and I was like, how long did I play? I was 60 hours in.
Wow.
And I hadn't even got out of the second zone.
Yeah, but you're a grinder, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a bit of a grinder, yeah. So, but she was the same. She was like, I want to capture everything in this area before I move on. I'm like, yeah, but there's going to be more stuff. So now we've come back. I've taken a different tact of actually, I want to go and do all the quests so I get all the mounts so that I can travel the sea, I can fly or whatever, and then I'll come back to the zones later to reinvigorate me to play again. And we were playing and it's like, I wish this was co-op because we're just sat next to each other playing the same game, doing the same things, but we're not in the game together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that whole game is just about capturing things. That's basically it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even a main line where you have to fight gyms and do real storylines. It's pretty much just go capture loads of stuff. So, you know, it was kind of disheartening that it wasn't co-op.
Yeah.
But then finding out Scarlet and Violet that makes me super happy. It really does. Even if it's limited in a way where we can't progress through the story, I still think
you could still do the grind together.
You could still have fun, just prat around, you know? And I see that as like the steps they're making to change Scarlet and Violet. Like when I think back to when I used to play every Pokemon game years ago, this is like a totally different game.
Yeah.
It really is. And they are stepping the boat out. Yes, they could do loads of stuff better already, but they're always like incremental upgrades, aren't they?
And they have to.
Yeah.
They have to. Otherwise, they end up like the football franchise games. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to mention them because everyone hates them. But they basically, any kind of sports game gets criticism because it never changes. It's the same thing every year.
Since the NES.
Call of Duty is another example of this. It's just the same bloody thing
it's
again.
It's just Doom.
It's just Duke Nukem again. So having a franchise that's had so many games come out over such a long period, they have to keep changing it up. Yeah.
And again, like I know people will probably be like, yeah, but there's so many things they could do better. I do agree. But I, for one, as someone returning to Pokemon again with hype, like I actually am coming back to this with actual passion to play this.
You can't release the same gameplay exact and just like improvements.
Yeah.
Because you're just releasing the same game, just in a slightly better technology age.
Yeah.
You have to improve and change it as well.
Exactly. So one thing that I really like the look of is they are introducing auto battles. So I've said this before in other videos. In the old games, Pokemon, you didn't see them. You walked in wild grass, hit one, and then it, bam, like splash screen, forced into a situation where you have to select run or fight it, right? Whereas now, they're still going to have that, where you can have an actual Pokemon battle if you want. Or if you're like me and you're lazy and you can't be asked to keep, fighting stuff, well, then you can have a Pokemon out with you that wanders around the land with you.
Nice.
And let's say you're wanting to gather some herbs, and in your mind you're like, right, I'm going to gather everything in this area, but then every 3 foot you're hitting a Pokemon battle that screws you, that's frustrating. So they've introduced Let's Go mode, where if you've got your Pokemon battle out and you've enabled Let's Go mode, you can either send your Pokemon out to go gather stuff for you in a direction, or let's say you're gathering and a Pokemon aggroes on you and it runs up to you, and instead of it throwing you out into a battle scene, you can let your Pokemon just fight it whilst you run off and you
sort it out.
Yeah. So you can it will auto fight for you whilst you go and keep collecting your herbs or whatever it is that you're doing.
I like it.
To me, that is huge.
Well, it just makes the grind more enjoyable.
Yeah. Rather than every 3 seconds going,
frustration,
battle, and then run, battle, okay, fine. Because that used to bug me as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, it really bugged me. I just want to walk to the next town that I've just come from because of backtracking. I don't want to have to go for 100 fight scenes just to go back to where I've just come from.
Yeah.
That really gets me. So that's a huge quality of life thing that I think looks like really fun.
I think he might have sold me on this one.
It does sound good, though, doesn't it?
It does.
It does sound good, right? Like
and in all honesty, I've been wanting to. I always look at them when they come out, and I go, maybe I should jump in now.
Yeah,
but I don't know. There's a bit of trepidation, a little bit of fear of like, this is a huge franchise that I know really nothing about.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And Arceus was the first time I was like really looking in. I think because you've streamed it a bit as well.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, really looks like a game I want to play.
Yes. Yeah. I think now is probably the best time to jump in because it's open world.
Yeah.
Because you've got actual online multiplayer where you can join someone as a friend,
Yeah, that's huge.
And maybe you don't know anything about Pokemon, but maybe you've got a friend that's well into it.
Yeah.
You could join them, be on voice chat or whatever, and then you could be like, what's going on here? And they could inform you. And the games are the previous games are quite good at telling you what's going on.
Yeah.
Like how things work, what you need to do. And even to the point on Arceus, obviously every Pokemon's a different type. So you've got grass type, like ground type, normal type, fire type, whatever. And each one's more effective than another against a different type, right? And in the past, you'd have to memorize what type is better against the other type. So you basically needed a notebook to go this type against this, or which moves, because some Pokemon have different type moves and they'll only be effective against another Pokemon. It's complicated, it's convoluted, it's ridiculous. Whereas now on Arceus, at least, if you are fighting a Pokemon, when you select the moves, you could press like Y or something, and it popped up another menu that basically said how effective it was against the Pokemon you're fighting.
Nice.
To try and teach you, okay, this is a fire move.
Yeah.
Not effective. Don't use it because you're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Whereas the next one might be a water move and it might be like super effective, And I liked that because I'm old now. I can't be bothered to remember everything.
And games have moved past the time of being overly verbose. That's a big word for you. And you talked about Final Fantasy earlier. You always had to remember what different elemental attacks did against different types of enemies and try and suss out what they were. Some would be regenerative against them, so you're actually healing them as you attack.
Yeah. That's pretty much the same premise.
We're past that now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just lazy now.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm just lazy. I'm past that now.
We want an easy ride and we just want to enjoy it.
Just give it to me easy. Come on.
That's it. But I think it's that kind of thing where you could make it hard if you want, or you can make it a bit easier for yourself.
Yeah.
And I just think this is the best time for people to jump in if you've never played Pokemon. Again, because it is open world. It's a total change of play. It just seems like this is going to be really fun. I mean, talk to us in a couple of months. We might say it sucks,
I'll be asking Andy for the money back.
But I really don't think that's going to be
I'm
the
joking.
case.
I'll use his credit card anyway.
I have pre-ordered the double pack steelbook thing from Nintendo that comes with both copies of the game because...
Of course.
Well, because Christina and I are going to play. I'm going to force her to play it because it's co-op.
Yeah.
So I'm
When you
having
say it's
Violet.
co-op, can you have 3 people playing at the same time?
No.
I know how this is going to work
Up to
out.
4 people.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm not joking. Up to 4 people online.
Oh, yeah.
So you can have 4 people. So 3 people, including yourself.
Yeah.
So we could convince Pete to get off Fortnite,
He's never going to get off Fortnite.
and then he could come join us.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
So it's the thing, though. But 4 people online, like up
That's
to.
really cool.
Doesn't
That's
have
really
to
cool.
be, but it can be up to. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Andy,
So, yeah.
tell them
Yeah.
what else they should do if they want to know more about Pokemon.
We'll subscribe
Yes.
for the first thing.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you could just, I suppose, watch
I mean, yeah.
a video.
Why'd you do that?
Well, I don't know, because we want them to watch more videos.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go watch this video next. Just do it and
Yeah.
subscribe.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, and go check out the PlayStation channel.
You don't have to.
128 KB News.
I love you.